Hi, everybody.
Hey, guys.
We have two other special guests. Come on. There you go. Take your seats. The show's about to begin.
We are going to mute everyone just so there's no background noises.
Everybody see our special guests? There you go. Okay, it's 7:32. We're 2 minutes. We're going to keep admitting people, and we're going to get going in a couple of minutes into the meat of this presentation. I just want to start out by saying thank you. Thank you so much for spending an hour with us here, Stacy, and I think the entire sales team is also on the call. And this is one of my favorite things to do. And we obviously prefer to be in person with everybody, but we're equally as thrilled to have everybody here with us virtually. So tonight, we're going to be talking about staging and selling and pricing and really how to go about the very overwhelming process of selling your house. And that's what we're going to get into. So what I'm going to ask is that I'm hoping you have a lot of questions. I'm hoping you have a lot of things you want to share and talk about. Just do me a favor and write it down, make a note, throw it in the chat box for now, no problem. And we will absolutely have time at the end. And of course, if there's something specific that you want to discuss with myself or with one of our agents, we're here for you, of course, after this session, any other time. So let's jump right in. So thinking like a buyer.
Join the meeting.
Oop, I don't know how to mute that part of it. It's okay.
Don't worry though, I'm admitting.
All right. So the one of the most important things that we ask of our clients is to think like a buyer. And when you're thinking about selling your house, and it could be 4 years out, 3 years out, 2 years out. It could also be that you've had a house on the market and it was unsuccessful. What I'm going to ask you is to really take off your seller hat and put on your buyer hat. And I'm going to take that one step further. When we're talking about thinking like a buyer, it's not just any buyer. It's not maybe the buyer you were 6 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. What we want you to do is think like your buyer. And that's really important. Think like your buyer, okay? This wheel that I put together is sort of a dotted line that sums up how to get the results that you're looking for. And in some way, I promise you that every single slide that we touch upon is related to this wheel. Selling, whether it's your house or anything, is all about meeting or exceeding expectations. We meet and exceed the expectations of whomever we're selling to, we see results. In order to meet or exceed expectations when we're selling a house, we have to identify that there is an emotional connection that needs to be made. People have to feel connected to your space. And it's not so easy to feel connected to a space that you're only in for 15, 20 minutes and then decide to spend a lot of money on. That's not such an easy thing. We have a hard task in front of us. In addition to that emotional connection, the buyers need to feel some sense of value. They need to feel that there's value in it. And we're going to get into all of that. Compelling price is going to play a big part in this. And of course, ultimately, all this results in triggering the bid. So let's dive in. Getting the most for your home really is 3 things: pricing it to sell, staging and styling, and then crafting a strategy. And we're going to dive into sort of all those 3 things. And of course, there's always more to talk about, but that's kind of the crux, the meat of what we're talking about. I'm going to spend probably like another 35, 40 minutes going into all this, and then 15 minutes at the end for conversation. And I'm happy to go over. And I don't know about you guys, but I brought my cocktail along. So cheers to everybody. Thank you for joining. Okay. I was going to tell you it was just water, but I'm a truth sayer, so I'm not telling you that. All right. So pricing to sell, staging and styling, and then crafting a strategy. So let's walk into that. What does that look like? All right. In the beginning of the presentation, we talked about thinking like a buyer. I'm going to go back to that because it's very important and it's worthwhile reminding you. In order to think like a buyer and ensure that your buyer can create an emotional connection, you need to start removing yourself emotionally from your house. Sounds easy. Most of our clients say no problem. It's challenging. And I encourage you to start the process sooner than later. And you'll find that once you start decluttering and staging and taking and removing, you'll start to feel that process happening and allow yourself the time to go through that process because it is a journey for you. All right, part one, establishing a compelling price. Put yourself in the buyer's shoes and let's talk about the big questions we get asked. Every single listing presentation we agents go on, the question starts with, is there a right season and is there a wrong season? What you may read and what you might hear is probably going to be a little different than our approach to seasons. But in the 10 years that I've been selling real estate and that my team has been involved in helping families just like yourself, we have never believed there's a wrong time to be on the market. The timing of selling your house has everything to do with where you're going, your timing, and your needs. There's a demand for product always. When other sellers start to remove their houses off the market, I'm excited. I am excited. We are now getting top of the line. You know, your house becomes more and more and more and more important in what people would normally call an off market. So COVID, post-COVID, yes, the idea of there being no seasons is exacerbated. Now more than ever, there's no season. And a lot of that is driven by this idea or this notion of what we call a buyer market or a seller market. So my takeaway is there's no wrong time to be on the market. It's all about your needs. And as far as whether it is as far as buyer markets or seller markets, just a brief explanation. When the market talks about buyers and sellers market, all they're talking about is supply and demand. They're literally saying to you that there's more demand than there is supply, hence a seller's market, or there's more supply than there is demand, hence a buyer's market. The only thing, and I'm telling you this, the only thing that matters, in my humble opinion, is the strategy that gets you the result you want. And I'm here to tell you that whether it be a buyer market or a seller market, it's the same strategy. It is the same strategy. And I've read tons and tons of literature on this, and there's all different people saying all different things. And I am telling you that it is the same strategy. So that's the good news. There's not a wrong time, and it's the same strategy. The difference is that, yes, of course, when you're in a high demand market, most likely the value of your house has gone up. That's the difference. The value of your asset has probably gone up. That's the difference. All right, good. Pricing strategies and numbers that sell. So real quickly, I'm going to go through these. There's 6 of them. This is how we as agents break down what we need to do in order to price a house. And we're going to give it to you. We're going to tell you what we do. We're going to tell you what we do because at the end of the day, our clients are educated. It is your house. It is your house. Our job is to educate you. Our job is to help you see what we're seeing so that you can formulate your best opinion. And we'll help you, we'll guide you. Here's how we do it. Comps, comparable homes sold. So reviewing the comps of any house. Here's what you're doing, guys. If you're looking to find comps, comparable houses that have sold, you're not looking 4 towns away, and you're not looking 12 months behind you. 12 months behind you is a house that might have actually sold 6 months before that. It's just closing 12 months ago. Timing matters, markets change. Town contracts. Look for houses that are obviously similar in size, bedrooms, locations, updated condition, square footage matters. We look at all of that stuff. Finished basements, garages, they all matter, okay? That's what matters to a buyer. Learn from other people's mistakes. So quickly, I used to work in the fashion industry. And when I would go to a store like a Neiman Marcus or Bloomingdale's, and I would have to assess the successfulness or lack thereof of a particular collection, I would go to the sale rack. I would go look at what did not sell and why. Learn from other people's mistakes. Go look at expired listings. It's brilliant. It's amazing information. It's just right there for you. When you're looking for a comp, you're looking at what somebody did well and what didn't work, because you just don't want to repeat that. You're also going to look at the history. When you start to look at the history, every house has a story, and we as agents will go over that story with you. We'll share with you how many times was that house on the market and how many price reductions did it have to go through? How many agents did it have to have, okay? There's a lot of different pieces to this. So don't get lumped in the competition. So what does that mean? Find your sweet spot, right? Look at what the prices are. If there's a bunch of houses that are listed at 1.5 and a bunch listed at 1.4, come in the middle. Find your sweet spot. Create an approachable price. What does this mean? So when you're talking about approachable price, it's all psychology. Buyers, the whole thing is psychology, like the psychology of the sale. So there's also merit in the psychology of the price. When you list a house at, 1.2 million, it sounds 1.2 million. It sounds a little bit better at 1.999. It sounds a little bit better. It's a very natural retail thing to do. Price for online search ranges. So you all need to understand that obviously we know most people start their searches for homes online. The retail sites will chunk together prices so that if you price a house above where somebody is searching, like Zillow, for instance, will search in $25,000 buckets. So if you happen to price your house right above that $25,000 number, then that means a buyer might not see you. That means a buyer might not see you. So when you're looking at pricing your house, understand that buyers will shop in price ranges. And if you're above where their price range is, they very well might not see you, and the wrong buyers might be coming into your house. All right, last is pretty simple, and that's just don't hesitate to cut your price. Pivot, pivot, pivot. I'm going to say something else. Don't hesitate to pivot. It might not be your price. It might very well be something else up with the house, marketing, staging. It might be accessibility. Something might need to be reevaluated. So the message is this: don't hang out too long knowing that something's not right. You need to be having a conversation with your agent prior to going on the market about expectations. What kind of traffic am I supposed to see? How many people should I be seeing in the house? When should I be expecting my first bid? What kind of traffic online should I be seeing? Have expectations, have that conversation with your agent so that when we go into this process and something doesn't seem right, we're going to reevaluate. And my team is not going to identify price as the number one thing all the time. We try to do everything we can. And if we can't do anything else, it's going to be a price thing. It's going to be a price thing. But just an interesting fact is 60% of sellers nationally actually do have to adjust their price. How am I doing on time? Do I have Jacqueline on here?
Yes, we're moving along.
Jacqueline, co-listing agent, top left corner. Jacqueline, raise your hand, say hi. We have, I'm going to take a moment. I feel like I'm singing with the band. Let's take a moment and introduce everybody while I'm doing this. Julia Ditto online with us, agent on SEG team, Allison Berkowitz and Debbie Perlman. They run the SEG team in Woodcliff Lake, so they cover all of Pascack Valley. Great extension of the base team in Tenafly. Gretchen Lolis, hello, she's their agent. Lori Danziger on the line. And Peggy Mann, I believe she's there too. New addition to our team. To whom am I missing so far?
We're good.
Okay, we're good. And we have a couple of agents that are joining, but not official yet, so I'm not naming them. All right, so let's move on. So, all right, let's move on into the crux of this. So this is the big chunk of this presentation is going to focus on staging and styling. Staging and styling. And I'm so excited to have an opportunity to share with you some of our favorite stories from this season. And so let's just hop right into this. Why is staging important? So let's go back to the first conversation we were having about thinking like a buyer. And let me give you a little window into the lens of your buyer. Your buyer is not the buyer from 15 years ago or 6 years ago. Your buyer is a very visual buyer. What that means is that you have to work a lot harder to show them how they're going to live in your space. They probably have little imagination. They're like the HGTV culture, right? They also want everything turnkey, like done and done. That's why we have a massive shortage of new construction. And that's why new construction homes have actually risen in price way more than any other house. The millennial buyer is here. They are the biggest bulk of buyer and they're not going anywhere right now. So we've got to deal with the buyer we have, and we don't want to pretend that doesn't exist. So that's why staging becomes really, really important. So staging a lifestyle. I'm taking my drink, sorry. All right, this is a before photo. It's a house we put on the market. I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, actually. And what I want you all to think about is this. When a buyer calls us and we talk to them about a house, they tell us how many bedrooms and bathrooms they want. They tell us probably the location they want. They tell us maybe something about the size of the property and maybe the style they like, you know. They don't typically say to us, you know what, I want something that's going to make me feel safe and make me feel warm and make me feel comfortable, something that I could, you know, plant roots in and see my children grow up. But they don't say all of that, but they mean it. They very much mean it. It's up to us to interpret that and help our sellers show them what we know they need to feel, okay? So lifestyle selling. Obviously, we went into this room and we said we can make this better, and I'm gonna just quickly move to what we did. Boom. Now, this house, it's interesting. Like, this is not an overly expensive house, you guys. I mean, we cover every price point. I really want to reiterate that. You know, staging and styling, it doesn't matter what your price range is. What matters is that we're doing everything we can to get you the most amount of money. It has no bearing on the price point, okay? So this house was paint, windows, decluttering. I mean, we emptied out the room, we painted it, and we put some furniture in there. And in done, before and after. Let's go to the next one. So a quick note on numbers. So the numbers are in, they're very clear. There's not one person out there that says staging and styling doesn't matter. I'm not even going to read the numbers. I can tell you that based on our experience, we estimate that doing this kind of upfront effort, putting in this kind of upfront effort will provide approximately a 5% return. Those are my stats. We've had some experiences where it's way higher, but conservatively, I'm going to stick with 5%. Let's talk some case studies. Yay. Okay. So this is a fabulous case study, and this is a family room of a house we had on the market this year. And the house went on the market at the price the seller felt comfortable with. And it was on the market at about $899. We had a whole bunch of showings, and the highest bid we had was $790. So again, $899, our highest bid was $790. Lots of showings, $790 being the highest price. Not okay with the sellers. After we reduced the price and we still weren't getting a better bid, I had a conversation with the seller and basically said, we have two options. One is we reduce the price until we get a better number, because the closer you get to your target price, the higher the number is going to get. Or we take it off the market and we address the issues that we have had. We have the benefit of knowing now that we've had so much feedback. So we took it off the market for 2 weeks. I kid you not, 2 weeks. We put it back on the market. We spent about $15,000. So here are my numbers. Remember this. It was on the market at $899, reduced to $897. The highest bid we had was $790. We invested $15,000 into this house, put it back on the market, and get this, because this is a kicker, at a reduced price. We put it back on the market at $840,000, and we sold in one day 10 bids at $897. That's a lot of numbers, right? Who got me? Lorraine, I could see your face, so I'm looking at you. Yes, you got me? So what happened? We did everything we believed in. We did everything we believe in. We went into the house. Let's go back to this picture for a second. And we identified the focal point. When you're thinking about staging, think about it as the focal point of the room, the function of the room, and the feeling of the room. It's like the 3 F's. What feeling do you want to evoke? What's the function or the way that the buyer is going to use the house? And what's the focal point? Because I guarantee you, if you've been in a house for more than a few years, you've probably overshadowed the focal points of your house, of your rooms. So in this house, the focal point was this brick fireplace, but it was dated looking. It was dated and the furniture didn't work. But I had these beautiful wood floors. I had an open kitchen family room concept. So paint, we painted it, painted the whole thing. We painted in a creamy white. We brought in new furniture. We got rid of this funky thing down here. And there's a lot, we have like, there's more, for the after show, we'll go over all the other photos for this house, but it's too much to do. But you guys can see here we had this like creamy pink wallpaper paint on the walls. The paintings were a bit dated. Again, we literally just took the dated out, put the modern in, and we did it all with paint and furniture. And the same thing went for the kitchen. This is the kitchen. So the real money, the $15,000, most of it was spent in the kitchen, just so you guys know. Because in this kitchen, you guys can see here, we did all the cabinets. We also did the backsplash. The only other thing we did was change the handles, and everything else stayed the same. The floor stayed the same. That would have been a huge number. We opted not to do it. The cabinets stayed the same, but they were just painted. Any other comments, Jacqueline?
No, I think it just goes to show when you look at the numbers, this house, we call it chasing the market when the sellers go up too high. So it had to go through multiple price reductions. And when we did the work and we priced it correctly, it actually wound up selling only $2,000 less than the original asking price, which is, it just goes to show it, you know, the proof is in the pudding.
Yep. So, okay, let's talk about the next slide. So when we talk about staging and styling, there's all different levels of it. So staging could, I'm reading a chat question, by the way, so I appreciate it. Amy asked a question. It's interesting, you know, what your opinion is of what you think of a house is relevant when you're buying it. But what you think of a house is not so relevant when you're not the one buying it. And a lot of times the people buying the house are, you know, possibly a different age, a different generation. But nonetheless, the staging is really different things. So it could be furniture, it could be paint, it could be editing, it could be accessories. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And I want to make sure that's very clear. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. This is a situation, this is a house that was on the market and we had feedback, it wasn't selling. We had some feedback from buyers. We understood that we weren't showcasing the focal points of this room because the window treatments and the paint were a little bit dated and it was a lot. So we basically had the homeowners take the window treatments off and paint. And all the furniture stayed in the house. Like, how do we help accentuate the furniture that a homeowner has? We don't necessarily need to remove all of their furniture. And by the way, so as soon as we did this, we had an accepted bid within, I think, a week. That was it.
6 days.
That's all it took. So this is a paint, and this is about accentuating the positives, and of course, you know, trying to downplay what a buyer might not like. Now, obviously, it's really fun and amazing when we get to do that before we go on the market so that you don't have to experience a lot of pain. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way. It's sometimes, you know, it's not that easy to acknowledge that, you know, you need to do some of these things in order to get your house sold for the most amount of money. So let's talk about rooms. So not every room is equal. By that, I mean, when you're looking at your house as a whole, don't feel as though every single room matters as much as every single room. They're not made equally. The most important room in your house is going to be your kitchen. Bar none, it's going to be your kitchen. That's where your buyer is going to feel the strongest level of connection and be worried if it doesn't work. Okay. So whatever we can do, whatever you can do as a homeowner to your kitchen, do it. You're going to get and do it. It's going to be very, very important for you. The next room after the kitchen is going to be the family room. After that, it's going to be the master bedroom, bathroom. And of course, because of COVID, we're seeing the outdoor experience and the home office just explode as far as importance is concerned. I mean, think about the word staycation. Think about the way that everybody's been living in their house so differently than they would have been living in it. So it's very important that we recognize what's important right today might not have been the most important thing when you first bought that house, and how can you address it? How can you do it? And again, every single slide I'm showing you, it started with paint, every single one. It started with paint, and decluttering and editing your own furniture. After all of that, there's the option for obviously bringing in our furniture, but it might be one room. It might be one table. And I'll show you a photo of that. Here's another amazing before and after. And this is a house that we sold a few years ago. And it was a fabulous space, but it was obviously darker, it was cluttered, it had older furniture in it, and the homeowner acknowledged and said, I wouldn't decorate like this now. That's not what I would do. So I also want to make a clear distinction between decorating and staging. So obviously when you're going in to decorate, you're investing a whole lot of money in your personal style, and you're really putting a lot of emphasis on every single corner, every single nook of the room. When you're staging, it's not meant to feel like it's completely decorated. It's meant to give you a vibe and give you a feeling and help you envision yourself in the space. I just want you to get that. All right, so this room was staging and paint. So this is another fabulous story. And this is a house that went on the market this season. And you can see that this had some dated furniture in it. And it was a beautiful house, and the sellers were, wanted a certain number on the house, and they were willing to allow us to come in, and they allowed us to come in and remove all their furniture. This was a big thing. Obviously, you don't have to necessarily do that, but we put in some furniture that was more in keeping with the way a current buyer would appreciate. And on paper, this house, or if you just looked at the comps, this house was no more than, Jacqueline, what, like 900,000?
Right. We had looked at every comp and nothing showed that it was going to be more than about 900.
So we put it on the market. After we staged it, we allowed limited access to create sense of urgency. That's a big one, sense of urgency. And we sold it over 100,000 over ask. And there was such a strong sense of urgency that we were able to get the appraisal and the inspection removed, the contingencies. Okay, so I'm moving quickly. Takeaways: paint, light, declutter, know who your buyer is. There's a whole lot of people out there to help you get yourself depersonalized and decluttered. It's very hard for a buyer to envision themselves in your space if you and your family are plastered everywhere in the house. So keep in mind, there's a whole lot of help there for you to get your stuff packed up. Know who your buyer is. So here's just a few bullet points of what is important to your buyer. And this is sort of a connection to what I was talking about before. Your buyers today, home offices, smart home features. And by the way, there is inexpensive smart home features that you can put, like a Ring doorbell or an Alexa, a Google network. They are not expensive to do. You do not have to have a fully wired speaker system in your house to have a Sonos system, for instance, which again is not that expensive. So amenities, if you have a room, a wine room, if you're a luxury house, wine rooms are important. And space for pets. By the way, so we have a lot of young families coming in, and their pets are their children for now, and pet spaces are important. So look around your house, identify some spaces that you can connect to what your buyer is looking for. Don't think an empty room is going to sell your house better. So if you have a house and you have a room and you feel like, you know what, you're going to leave, you're going to empty it out and you're going to sell it, and it's better, it doesn't have the old dated furniture in it. You guys take a look at the picture here. I mean, I have a hard time envisioning what I'm supposed to be doing in that room. That's not a warm and cozy feeling. So I would recommend to always use furniture, always stage a house, and that's what we do for you. The other thing that gets tricky is when you have these big open spaces. So you might walk into a room, I don't know if you've ever done this, you've walked into a room and it's just big. It's that open concept space. So you have a really hard time sort of figuring out where one space ends and one space starts. That's where staging is so beneficial. That's where the buyer can actually see, okay, you know what? I don't have a designated family room, dining room, eating kitchen, but I'm going to take this one big room and I'm going to make it multi-purposeful, multifunctional. We love multifunctional. Multifunctional is great. Lifestyle selling, super important. I love it. If you can create that lifestyle feeling, recreation like ping pong tables and chalkboards and desks and where to hang out, those are really important spaces. These are all stage spaces we use. All right. Great idea for anybody who feels like they are missing a bedroom. If you feel like you're missing a bedroom, take one of the bedrooms you have and stage it with 2 beds. This is a house we had on the market. It wasn't selling. This is a couple of years ago, and we went back and we did what we know how to do, and we essentially said, you know what, we got to show those wood floors. That's one. We needed to revert one of the bedrooms they had, because they took a bedroom they weren't allowed to take and they turned it into an office. We needed to take it and revert it back to a bedroom, and it was big enough, so we used two beds in there. And as soon as we did that, we sold the house. We sold the house at ask, right, Jacqueline?
Yes, we actually sold it over the last listed price that we had after
Right.
staging and ripping up the carpets.
Right. And again, I'm showing you all one picture of the entire house. So understand that we took those same strategies and techniques and we applied it to the rooms that we knew we needed help in, right? By the way, when you're talking about a bedroom, you know, the smallest bedroom in your house is very well might be the room you need to pay the most amount of attention to, because if people walk into a bedroom and think it's tiny, you're going to have a problem with that. So that might be the room that you need to spend the most time with as far as bedrooms are concerned. As I said before, paint is always the best bang for your buck. I can't talk enough about changing wallpaper and paint. If there's nothing you do that. That's going to make a huge difference. So brighten up your rooms. So on this slide, this is a great example again. I mean, we had gorgeous wood floors under the carpet. So the carpets came up, the window treatments came off, the wallpaper was ripped out. The furniture was pretty much the same. The bedding was changed and maybe some lamps. And down below here, this photo again, this is all about, you know, changing the paint color to lighten up and brighten up a room. I haven't talked enough about lighting, and I can't talk enough about lighting. But nobody wants a dark house. Please keep that in mind. Lighting all day long. Buy lamps, buy accessory lamps if you can, but focus on lighting. We talked about kitchens. We have had such amazing success with painting kitchen cabinets and changing hardware. This is just one example. This was a house that was on the market prior to us taking it over, and it was unsuccessful. We came in like doctors of the house. We diagnosed what we know the buyer was seeing, and we said, how do we change this buyer's perspective? How do we make the buyer feel like even if they want to renovate or update this kitchen, they can live with it, they can deal? And this was painting and hardware. I mean, we obviously added some warm props and touches and some green. You could see here the flowers and the green and the new stools, but the big things were painting and hardware. And it made a tremendous difference. So this is one of the stories that I absolutely love, because this is a way for us to show you guys that it does not have to be a big deal, okay? This is a fabulous, gorgeous house. We put it on the market maybe a month ago. And the feedback we had after 2 open houses, or 1 open house, I forget, was that people felt like the kitchen space was tight, right? So you could see this is the before. There's nothing, we didn't think there was anything wrong with it. We thought it was beautiful. The house is gorgeous. There's nothing wrong. But we had the feedback and we pivoted. So within 24 hours, we had their table taken out, the carpet taken out, this table put in, and we had a bid the next day. The next time we had the open house, we had the bid that took the house.
And this is what we mean by no vision of the buyer. Something as simple as changing a kitchen table and chairs made all the difference. And a lot of times we meet with sellers and, you know, they say it's just a couch. They can see past that. They can. It absolutely makes a difference. And like Stacy said, that house went the next day. Very
And
price.
we're getting into the end of this, but here's the thing, you guys, old electronics, old TVs that are not put on your walls, they take up too much space. They're not modern and transitional. Let's get rid of it, right? This is a much better look. Okay, I love this page because these are great tools of the trade. I mean, really great tools of the trade. When we talk to our sellers, we say, go fall in love with the Container Store. It is your best friend, right? So we want to organize things in similarities. So we want to organize in baskets, or this is just like literally a picture of the Container Store right here. You're living in the house. So you just want to organize and you want to put things together so that everything looks the same when it comes to the junk, right? Because you still have the junk. So we love baskets. We love the Container Store. We love organizing in clear bins for playrooms and pantries and laundry rooms. White linen, new bedding, like this literally is a picture from Target. This is bedding from Target, like white bedding, white towels, new bedding. Those things are game changers for you all. And making your house look new again, one of the most spectacular things to do other than paint is to address any kind of grouting in your house. I guarantee you probably don't know what the original grout color was of your room. Look at your bedroom, look at your bathroom, look in your bathrooms. I guarantee you, every single one of you after this phone call, if you go look at every one of your bathrooms, you're gonna be shocked because they all need to be regrouted or cleaned in the tile, and they'll look brand new, and it's not expensive. Goo Gone, Mr. Clean, Magic Erase. Before you start, do anything, use your Magic Erase. Organizing is twofold. Number one, it obviously looks better and cleaner. The other thing is that if your closets and drawers are stuffed, then the psychology of the buyer is going to be that they've run out of space. So I'm going to run out of space. So we want to pare everything down. We want everything to look like you have more than enough space and that your buyers are going to have more than enough space. Little touches go a long way. Don't forget about the outside. In the inside, the sale rests, the sale starts where the eye rests. The sale starts with the eye rests on the inside, which is why we focus so much on taking away the noise of the clutter. But remember that there's a good amount of people who will do a drive-by before they even want to see your house. So if they're doing a drive-by and the trees are huge and not taken care of, and the front door is peeling and the doormat is old and it looks not modern and transitional and current and clean and well kept, you're sending a very loud message to your buyer that that is the way you take care of your house. Painting the front door, consider new hardware, power wash that house, refresh your driveway, clean your windows, add some potted plants, and poof, it all looks good. All right, I sort of just went over all of this, so I'm not gonna, if you have issues with the lawn, put some sod down, you guys, like not a big deal. I've had families, that have put sod down, and, who had these huge trees lining the front of the house, and they literally were blocking all the sunlight from coming into the house. So if you have to, plant some boxwoods in the front and make sure that the front of your house sings. All right, as far as the process, I'm getting a 5-minute warning. So our process is your process. We basically do all of this for you, with you. We do a walkthrough when we come to your house. We get a feeling for your house. We get a feeling for what we need to do as far as staging and styling. We do a pricing strategy. We do a marketing plan. We do home staging. We obviously are doing all the professional photography, and then our listings are going to go live. There's a whole lot in there that we would love to discuss with you if you're interested in understanding the details inside of that. But it's pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we do whatever you're comfortable doing. In other words, our job is to provide you with suggestions that will help you achieve your goal, which would most likely be to achieve the most amount of money for your house in the most convenient way possible. In the most convenient way possible. And by the way, we're doing it safely. We're doing it safely with COVID. So our expert agents, they're all here. I've introduced them all. We also have a fabulous VIP list where we do a very helpful newsletter every month. We provide statistics, we provide data, we provide tips from being on the ground, from selling and buying houses with your buyers. And we're happy to share that with you as well. We also have a handout for you that we will mail to you with our favorite tips on staging and how to get through a home inspection as painlessly as possible. So I thank you all for letting us go through all of that, and I'm happy to open this up to questions, and if hopefully I can answer them.
And let me unmute.
Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Tatiana.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tatiana. I have a question. How long does that take if I call you to do all that before I sell the house?
So I think your question is, how long does it take to get all this done before you sell the house? So I think it's a great question, and really the answer is that we typically would take our lead from our sellers. Our sellers. If our sellers allow us, if our sellers are in a rush, then we rush. If our sellers give us the time, then we take the time. But if I was to say to you from today till when we go live, it would take us to do all that, to do the painting and to do the staging, we could do it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me say this. I own a staging company, so our team has its own staging company. I'm a certified stager. We have a full-time certified stager on our team. That stager is at every single house. That stager accompanies our photographer to make sure that the photographer is really picking up the best features of the house. And we have a good amount of product. So I have probably eight or nine houses worth of inventory that I own. So we're using our own product and our own stager, so it moves a lot faster.
So let me ask a question. So I have gazillion furniture. So first thing to do is declutter, throw everything away that you don't need, correct?
Yes.
Before you come in. So you can figure out what's left and has to be taken away.
Well, it's interesting. It's a good question. So most of our clients will probably do a little bit of that, but I actually recommend not doing much of anything until we walk through it. We really try to utilize as much of what you have as possible. We really do. So, I mean, I'm like a treasure hunter in a house. I'll go into somebody's house and maybe I think that there might be a piece of furniture that's not quite right in one room, maybe blocking the flow.
Furniture.
And I'll be like, well, wait a minute, we're going to take it, we're going to put it in that room, right? So my suggestion is don't be shy or embarrassed and feel like I can't invite the team in. I haven't prepared the house. Literally, we see opportunity. We do not see problems. We just see opportunity. Like, this is what we do. I think it would save everybody a lot of time if they started by bringing the professionals in and then allowed us to help them take it one step at a time. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
I have a question. Hi.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
Yeah, you were asking me a question before.
Yeah, it was answered by somebody else, I think. Yeah. So when you come in for the first time and you look around the house and you walk through, then there's a pricing strategy and doing all the different things that you said, do you give the seller suggestions and basically say, if you do this, this is how much it's going to cost. If you do that, this is how much it's going to, like, are there options that you present,
Yeah,
or how does that?
I love that question. So let me I just want to ask you a question about what you're asking me. So I think you're asking me, are there options so that the seller sort of has a choice on what they want to do? And
Well,
maybe,
right, because you could come in and say, if you really want to put this in the best light in every room, in the front of the house and everything, it's going to cost, I don't know, $35,000, whatever it is. And we think you're going to make up a good percentage of that in selling it.
right.
Or do you say the kitchen is the most important? I think if we just do that, that should be able to get you the number that we're all thinking would be the good number. Like, that's what I'm trying to get at. Because
So,
you could do everything,
right.
and where's that cutoff for cost benefit, basically?
So the reason why I love your question is because I always find it, I think it's the hardest one for us to answer, because of everything you just said, because we want to do it all. But yes, we are very prepared to give you a priority list of what, if so we would say, here's what we think you must do.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, this would be next, and then this would be next, and then this would be next.
Okay.
We absolutely have to do that. And it takes a lot of, we put a lot of thought into that, Linda. Like, it's a lot of, let's go back and let's really think. That's also where the team comes in. It's so helpful. We literally just did it at a house. We had a walkthrough for what with Julia Ditto, one of our agents on the team, and we all went into the house, and we could list 40 things that we wanted to do, but we had to come back around and say, okay, of those 40, what's one?
Mm-hmm.
What's one? And if we only did that one thing, what would we get out of it, and what would it cost?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say one more thing. Part of that is also related to what's convenient for our clients. So listen, we've had to go into some pretty expensive houses and tell them they're just not ready for prime time. I mean, that's, like, not so fun.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, we have to be very, very cognizant and empathetic that, you're living in the house. You're living in the house. So it's never black and white for me, ever. It's like, okay, yes, I know this is going to get them the most return, but this is going to also cause them the biggest inconvenience. And that weighs so heavily on us. So in that case, we really go through all of the pros and cons with our clients, and hopefully, with their help, we make sense of it. I'll give you an example. A lot of times if we decide that there's one very important room, like there was another, I'm thinking of another one of Julia's houses, and there was actually in Debbie's house, and one was there was one room in each house that it was the family room, I think. And it was such an important room, and it needed love. It like was not singing, it just was not going to grab the attention of the buyer and or the camera. So we figured out a way for the clients to put to take their current furniture, and our moving company came in, and we took their current furniture out. They wrapped it. We put it on one of those pallets and put it in their garage, and that was it. So if there's an obstacle, we need to talk about it, and then basically with the clients and say, okay, is this an obstacle we feel comfortable moving on, moving over? You know what I'm saying now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, definitely. And I do have one other question, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Do you ever, if your client wants to know if they have furniture they wanted to sell, or anything of theirs they wanted to either donate, sell, put in storage, do you have contacts that you give out for those sort of things?
So you just probably asked two of like the ding questions.
Okay.
It's super overwhelming, those two things that you're talking about.
Right.
What do we do with the stuff we have? And what's that timing look like? So if we have stuff we want to sell, we want to donate, we want to throw out, And yes, the answer is yes. We have a strong client concierge team. I don't know if Lauren is on the call. Is Lauren here?
I think so. I think so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we have Lauren, who works as the listing director in the office for us, works with our clients and strategizes with them and connects them to the people that we've had and that our clients have had the most success with. And that sometimes changes. Like Facebook Marketplace became all the rage in the last few months because of COVID. So the answer is yes, we have great connections. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to say one more thing. There are people that I work with, one company called Transition Guardians, for instance, that specialize in doing this for families, doing this part of it, helping them sort out what they own, figuring out what's of value, getting it to whether it's an auction site or whether it's going to an estate sale, donating it, separating it between family members. So this is like literally could be it's a full-time gig for some people.
Sure.
And so in certain cases, I recommend tapping somebody like that
Mhm.
to get help on it.
Okay,
But yes,
thank you.
You have it. And the
Thanks.
answer to your other question was, do some people still want to knock our buyers? You asked that question too. Our buyers looking to knock houses down
Yeah,
these
that was
days,
my
or not
other-
so much anymore. So I have my whole buyer's agent team on this call. So I'm staring at Gretchen right now. So I'm gonna ask Gretchen to unmute, and I'm gonna let you take that question. The question is, are buyers looking to knock houses down these days or not so much anymore?
Hi, Linda. I would say not so much anymore. But I don't know, Stacey, that's like a trick question.
I agree with you.
It's like a trick question, but I would say not so much. The buyers that I'm dealing with just want to buy something that's already done and ready.
I agree with you.
So if there is a home that is in really poor condition, I would say developers are coming in and buying those lots rather than the end user.
I was
don't-
just curious. It's not my situation, I don't think, but I just wanted to know. So.
Sure, yeah, no, just
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. What's cool is like right now, if you have a house that is otherwise would be considered a knockdown, I mean, houses that you would have never thought would be knockdowns are knockdowns right now because buyers are so focused on move-in ready, turnkey, updated, done. That
Because of COVID, their timing is a little bit different.
Sure.
Okay.
You know what? It was like that, and then COVID just like, boom, like now they don't. First of all, the backlog of products. You know, I mean, Julia, I'm gonna tap Julia. You can pick up this question too. You want to time Julia Ditto's on our team. Her husband is Peter Ditto of FDS Architecture and Builder. It's not FDS Builder, sorry.
FDS Architecture.
Timeless development. Yeah.
There you go.
So go ahead, Julia.
So, well, I guess you're probably leading into our development in Tenafly, where we had 8 homes that were actually lots that homes were going to be built on. And that development sold out in 3 months, maybe, where it had been on the market for a year. There were 2 homes on the property, 8 lots, and now the whole thing is sold out. And all those buyers want new construction. They wanted to have a little bit of a say, not too much, but they want a little bit of say to the finishes. But that's what and they don't want to look at anything else.
So let me add one more thing. So if you have a house and you're debating whether it would be a knockdown or not, that's where we come in. And you know what? It's something where at the end of the day, there are pros and cons. So if you have a house where you're going to a developer, here are the pros. The pros is you're going to be an all cash deal. You're not going to have any inspection. They'll most likely give you a good amount of time, and you don't need to have a whole bunch of buyers traipsing through your house. Those are some pretty big pros. Okay. And then the question is, if you went on the open market, if you went to the retail market, how much would an end user pay? And is that worth it to you? And that's where we go like this with each other.
Mhm.
And you could do it simultaneously. You could definitely do it simultaneously. For sure, if you're thinking about going through a developer, make sure you're working like with us, with our team. If we're helping you with the developer, we don't take a commission on that side. We actually will put you out to a whole bunch of developers, and we'll get our commission when we build the house and sell it retail. So you definitely still want to have a sense of competition and a sense of urgency.
Well, I guess you would look, whoever comes over would look and say, I think you should go one way or the other, I assume,
Yeah.
based on your knowledge of what
Yes.
people are looking for and what you see in front of you and all of
Yes.
those things.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
thank you.
Sure. Who was there any questions more? Any more questions? There is a question here. Jacqueline, were you about to read it? In the chat box. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you for your time and inputs. Feel free not to reply if it's too personal. I like that. Well, it's too late because I'm reading it out loud. Do sellers pay? Do sellers pay for your staging service or because you are a licensed stager and you have your own products? So great question. So we are an amazing team, and we offer all of those staging. The staging is part of our services, and you do not pay extra for the staging. The only thing we ask a seller to contribute to is the cost of the professional moving truck, which is de minimis in comparison to what we're doing. I mean, it's that, and that's it. So I'll give you some numbers just to throw it out to you guys, but if you're looking at staging, 4 or 5 rooms of a house, it's done right. It's about 10,000 retail. And we do it better than right. We do it better than right. So I hope that answered the question. There's a new message. Yup, thanks. Your team rocks. Okay. So we have any other questions from anybody? Concerns, questions? No? Okay. Anybody else? All right. So with that, I want to thank everybody. We are all here, all of us. We cover all of Bergen County, which is amazing. And we could reach us at info@segrealty.com. And we will be sending you all out a little present, which is just some cool lists of some stuff that we find very, very important regarding staging tips and inspection stuff. I just want to thank everybody for spending the time with us tonight. It was a pleasure. I hope you all got something from it. Stay safe, and we're here to help with any of your real estate needs. Any questions, just reach out. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Good night. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you.